Look at this resident of Corpus Christi standing in a cold courtroom facing criminal charges today because they simply dared to water their tiny brown lawn. While ordinary families suffer under the heavy boot of local laws, massive global oil corporations are still casually draining millions of gallons of water every single day. Have you ever wondered about the actual price these giants pay to stay far above the law while the rest of the city slowly dies of thirst? It costs them exactly 25 cents for every 1,000 gallons of fresh water. A price so low it feels like a deliberate slap to every citizen. Today is the 9th of April, 2026, and the two primary reservoirs of this historic port city have officially plummeted to catastrophic levels of near-total emptiness. Lake Corpus Christi and the Choke Canyon Reservoir are currently sitting at exactly 9.8% and 8.3% capacity, respectively, as we speak. The #1 oil export port in the entire United States is literally on the verge of dying from a lack of water right now, in this moment. While the sun beats down on the cracked earth, the political elite and industrial titans continue to play a dangerous game with the lives of 500,000 people. Every drop of moisture is being extracted from the soil as foundation cracks spiderweb through thousands of homes, while the corporate pipes never once stop their loud humming. The local government has ignored every warning sign for years, prioritizing the profits of energy giants over the basic human right to have clean drinking water in our homes. You might think this is just a local issue, but this is the first domino in a collapse that will soon shake the entire national energy market to its core. How did one of the wealthiest cities in Texas find itself staring into the abyss of a total water shutdown while billionaires continue to profit from our collective misery? We are standing on the precipice of a total societal breakdown where the value of a human life is worth less than a few cents to those in power. As the heat rises and the taps run dry, the tension between the desperate citizens and the protected elite is reaching a violent and extremely dangerous breaking point today. This is the story of a city that was sold piece by piece until there was absolutely nothing left to drink but the bitter taste of corporate greed. Welcome to the reality of 25-cent justice, where the rich get hydrated and the poor are left to rot under the unforgiving Texas sun in 2026. Prepare yourself to witness the terrifying truth of how a modern American city can be destroyed by the very industries that once promised to bring it eternal prosperity. Behind the current nightmare lies a history of empty promises and massive financial failures that were supposed to save the thirsty citizens of this great Texas port city today. Back in 2017, the local leadership unveiled a grand vision for massive desalination plants that would turn the endless ocean into an infinite supply of clean drinking water. The original price tag for this miracle technology was estimated at only $140 million, a cost that seemed perfectly reasonable for such a vital solution. However, as the years passed, the project became a black hole for public funds, with the estimated costs ballooning uncontrollably due to technical incompetence and corrupt bureaucratic delays everywhere. By the time the world reached 2024, the budget had exploded to a staggering $1.2 billion, yet the construction sites remained hauntingly quiet and empty. In a shocking display of failure, the entire project was officially canceled in 2025, leaving behind 0 gallons of water and a massive debt for the angry taxpayers. The most disturbing part of this financial disaster is the discovery of secret letters where the city guaranteed endless water supplies to ExxonMobil long before they had water. This level of technical arrogance is truly horrifying, as leaders sold resources they did not even possess to global corporations, while the natural water levels continued to drop daily. They built a house of cards on a foundation of lies, telling the public that technology would save them while the reservoirs were drying up under the hot sun. Millions of dollars were spent on high-priced consultants and shiny architectural drawings for plants that were never intended to actually function or provide relief for the suffering people. While the common people were told to conserve every single drop, the industrial elite were shown internal documents promising them priority access to water that was a complete fantasy. Now, on this 9th day of April in 2026, we are left staring at the rusted remains of a dream that cost us over $1 billion. The failure of the desalination project was not an accident but a calculated deception designed to keep the industrial machines running while the public was fed mere hope. As the city budget bled dry from these failed investments, the infrastructure of the surrounding neighborhoods began to crumble into the thirsty earth without any hope of repair. This was a billion-dollar illusion that successfully blinded an entire population, while the real thieves were busy siphoning away the last of our ancient natural water reservoirs. We must ask ourselves how such a massive scale of incompetence could be allowed to happen without a single government official being held truly accountable for this disaster. Enter the dark heart of the crisis, where a $10 billion plastic manufacturing facility stands as a giant parasite draining the lifeblood of the entire region every day. This massive joint venture between ExxonMobil and Saudi Arabia consumes a staggering 25 million gallons of fresh water every single day without a single moment of rest or hesitation. To put that number into perspective, this one single industrial monster uses exactly the same amount of water as the entire population of 500,000 residents combined. While you are forced to limit your showers and let your gardens die, this plastic giant keeps its cooling towers running at full capacity for maximum corporate profit. The fatal flaw in the city infrastructure is that heavy industry now consumes more than 80% of the total water supply, leaving almost nothing for the residents. Why does the city not simply turn off the industrial valves to save the people who are suffering under the heat of this 9th day of April? The terrifying answer is that these massive refineries are not designed to slow down or stop, and cutting their water supply would lead to a catastrophic thermal explosion immediately. Without a constant flow of millions of gallons for cooling, the high-pressure systems inside these chemical plants would overheat and turn the entire coastline into a fireball. The city of Corpus Christi is effectively being held hostage by its own industry, because they have built a system that cannot survive without sacrificing the local people. Every time you turn on your dry faucet, remember that those 25 million gallons are currently being used to manufacture plastic pellets that eventually end up in the ocean. There is no mechanism in place to prioritize human life over the demands of the global energy market, which considers your survival a secondary concern to their earnings. We are witnessing a parasitic relationship where the host city is being slowly consumed by the very entities that promised to provide it with economic growth and stability. This is not just a mismanagement of resources, but a fundamental design failure that was hard-coded into the city's contracts with these international energy giants decades ago. The cooling towers of these refineries continue to spray misty clouds into the sky, while the ground beneath the feet of local children cracks open from extreme thirst. As we look toward the horizon on this 9th of April, 2026, we see the glowing lights of an empire that refuses to bleed for anyone. With the reservoirs now functionally empty, the desperate leadership of Corpus Christi has turned its predatory gaze toward the hidden underground water of its unsuspecting and smaller neighbors. Their target is the Evangeline Aquifer, a massive underground sanctuary of water that has sustained the small farming communities and quiet towns of Texas for over 100 years. On this 9th of April, 2026, the tiny town of Sinton has officially declared a legal war against the city to protect its very own survival. The people of Sinton know that if the industrial giant succeeds in sucking their aquifer dry, their farms will perish and their children will have no future left. This is no longer a simple administrative dispute, but a violent struggle between a thirsty monster and a community fighting for every last drop of life-sustaining moisture. If the pumps in Corpus Christi stop, the shockwaves will travel through the entire American energy market, freezing the supply of jet fuel for thousands of national flights. The refineries here are the beating heart of the nation's gasoline production, and their sudden collapse would cause the highest fuel prices seen in over 50 years. While the lawyers argue in expensive courtrooms, the very earth beneath our feet is beginning to physically sink as the empty aquifers can no longer support the weight. Geologists warn that the land has already subsided by over 5 inches in some areas, causing foundation cracks to worsen in more than 10,000 residential homes. The desperation is so thick you can feel it in the hot Texas air as neighbors begin to hoard water and guard their private wells with loaded firearms. We are seeing the early stages of a domestic water war, where the rules of civilization are being rewritten by the harsh reality of an unforgiving 5-year drought. The local police are overwhelmed by reports of water theft, as desperate people steal from swimming pools and decorative fountains just to keep their families alive today. Every gallon taken by the refineries is a gallon stolen from the future of a child living in a small town like Sinton or Taft right now. This escalation proves that our current industrial system is a suicide pact that will eventually consume every drop of life until there is nothing left to fight over. As the sun sets on this 9th of April, the tension between the corporate monster and the dying towns is reaching a point of no return for everyone. The battle for the water pockets has only just begun, and the casualties will be the millions of ordinary people who simply wanted a glass of clean water. We have reached the final hour of our journey through the parched landscape of Corpus Christi, where the silence of the dry pipes is now screaming a terrifying warning. The Texas Agriculture Commissioner has officially declared that this city is the canary in the coal mine for the entire state as our water systems face total collapse today. The ancient reservoirs that were originally intended to last until the year 2040 are disappearing much faster than any computer model or climate expert ever predicted for our region. Experts now warn that the terrifying arrival of day zero, the moment when all municipal taps stop flowing entirely, could strike as early as this coming November without massive rain. The National Weather Service warns that the Nueces River could dry up completely unless we receive an unprecedented 20 to 30 inches of rain from a major hurricane very soon. In a desperate and late move, the local government recently approved $48 million in emergency funding for projects that do not even exist on the drawing board yet. This massive sum of money is being thrown at a ghost problem, while the actual infrastructure beneath our feet continues to crumble and snap from the extreme lack of moisture. Families in Corpus Christi are now watching their most valuable assets lose value, as foundation cracks deep enough to swallow a hand appear in their living rooms every day. The question we must all face on this 9th of April, 2026, is whether we choose to save the global economy or the lives of 500,000 people. When the water in your own home finally stops, and all you hear is the hollow hiss of air in the pipes, who will you hold truly responsible then? Will you blame the energy giants who paid only 25 cents for your survival, or the politicians who signed away your future for a few more years of industrial growth? This is not just a Texas problem anymore. It is a global warning that the era of unlimited resources has officially come to a violent and very thirsty end today. We are standing at the edge of the abyss, and the choices made in the next few months will decide if Corpus Christi becomes a graveyard or a miracle. If you believe that human life should always come before corporate profit, then share this story before the voices of 500,000 people are silenced by the dust. Please comment below and tell us how long you think your family could survive if the water stopped flowing tomorrow morning at exactly 6 o'clock in the morning. The clock is ticking for every city in the world, and the drought of 2026 is just the beginning of a much larger and more terrifying global struggle.